Whenever Mbappe and Vini play together, Madrid is unbalanced. The team just struggles to dominate games, they struggle to connect with each other on the pitch, they make it easier for opposition because every attack goes down the left where they both want to stand, and they force other players to have to change their position, like Jude who has to drop into left mid and Fede who has to drop into right mid because they just don't want to track back. At this point, everyone knows that unless something changes, Madrid are going to continue to struggle. Enter Rodrygo. The Brazilian has been on the fringes and looks like he's heading out the door, but he might just be the solution Madrid and more specifically, the other players in the starting 11 are screaming out for. There are 5 key points that I've noticed that make me think this guy could be the missing piece to the puzzle for Madrid. And those are stats, position, main attacker, defensive work rate and Xabi Alonso's system. A couple of these do overlap, so it does make it a bit easier for me. Anyway, let's kick things off with the stats where I've put together a little stat sheet. Which I know, it looks phenomenal. We have goals, we have assists, and we have total amount of games. So let's go through this first before we start tackling our key points and start going into depth as to why he might just be that guy. He might just be him. But anyway, starting things off with Rodrygo, he has 14 goals and 10 assists, totaling 24 goals and assists in 53 games. 24 and 53, it's not the worst thing in the world. It is not the worst thing in the world. But when you're a main attacker, when you're a big name, when you're a Real Madrid attacker, he didn't start towards the ends of the season, but who started quite regularly throughout the season, this just isn't good enough. 24 and 53 just isn't really good enough. But moving on anyway to Vini next, he has 21 goals, 15 assists, which is 36 total in 57 games. This is a lot better. This is a lot better and a lot healthier to look at. 36 and 57 is very, very acceptable. Not one of Vini's best seasons. I think it was last year and maybe even the year before where he had 20 plus goals and 20 plus assists. So his goals are still 20 plus, but the assists have dropped off a little bit. But he's still doing Vini things. Like, Vini didn't have a great season last year, but no one did. Rodrygo didn't have a great season last year either. A lot of Madrid players didn't. But 36 and 57 is very, very good and a lot better than this. A lot better. And then finally, we have Kylian Mbappe, who, this is just disgraceful. This is absolutely disgraceful. Man has 45 goals and 6 assists, which totals 51 in 64 games. That's nuts. That is nuts. When you take into consideration the fact that he had a slow start, that he was not performing very well, that everyone was criticizing him and saying we got a player for free and we made a mistake. We got ripped off at the start of the season and all the memes were out and everyone was sticking it on him and it was going nuts and Madrid were like, what have we done? For him to have recovered and shown that he is who he is and he can do what he can do, this is a great return. And towards the end of last season, the further down you go, the better Kylian Mbappe gets. Like at a certain point, I can't remember which game it was, but he's like, I'm at my low point. I couldn't get any worse. It's time to switch things around. The adaptation period is over. And man is him. Man walked the walk. No, man talked the talk and then he walked the walk. Because straight after that, he started bagging. He started getting involved and he started putting up numbers. So for Kylian Mbappe, this is phenomenal and definitely screams main attacker. This right here screams main attacker energy. Now, let's get into all the key points and break down why stats has an asterisk next to it. And the reason stats has an asterisk next to it is because of this guy in this position. Now, let me start by saying Vini is my favourite player at Real Madrid and he has been my favourite player at Real Madrid for a while, but I'm about to go off on Vini and I feel like it's justified. Vini is the only player in the Real Madrid attack that plays his favoured position, who plays his preferred position. If Mbappe had a choice and Rodrygo had a choice, they would both be playing here and someone else would be occupying the striker role and the right wing role. But Vini is the one who gets his position and these two have to accommodate and make do with other positions. But I want to pose a question. Now, if we did this, if Real Madrid did this for a season, what happens then? Can anybody guarantee me or say with absolute certainty that this man isn't bagging 20 goals in a season? Can anybody? Because I can't. I 100% can't. Especially when I think about the fact that he had 6 goals in 6 games, in the 6 games that he played at left wing last season. He is a problem at left wing, but because of Vini, he never gets to play at left wing. But another question, why does Real Madrid never do this? Go away, Kylian. Why does Real Madrid never do this? Why do they never interchange? Why does Kylian sometimes not drop to the right and Rodrygo into the middle? Why does Vini sometimes not drop into the middle and Rodrygo to the left with Kylian on the right? Why do they not do these things? or like this, Vini in the middle, Kylian on the left, Rodrygo on the right. Unless management is telling them hold your positions, unless they're like, we can't change positions, unless Vini has said, I'm staying in this position, don't talk to me, guys. There's no reason, and I don't think Vini said that, there's no reason as to why these men should be occupying and sticking their positions the way they have. Because I want to talk about another attacking trio. I want to talk about PSG. And the reason why I want to talk about PSG is because of 2 points relevant to my point I am making. First of all, you've got a right-footed player who's playing on the wrong wing. And second of all, the squad, the collective is playing better. So therefore, the individual is playing better. Dembele is having his best ever season. And coincidentally enough, the squad is having their best ever season. Do you think that's by accident? No. Alonso said it. It's very, very obvious and very, very visible for a football fan. When you watch, when your team's playing well or when players are playing well, it's because the team's playing well or vice versa. It's happening with Barcelona. Rafinha didn't just become one of the best wingers in world football all of a sudden. The squad is playing phenomenally and Rafinha is reaping the benefits of the squad playing better and all of a sudden looks like one of the best players in world football. The same is happening at PSG. The same thing happened at Real Madrid last year and now the opposite is happening at Real Madrid this year. And the other factor that is relevant with the PSG front three, they do this. They do the exact thing that I said Real Madrid don't do. They interchange. Sometimes Kvaratskhelia is on the right, sometimes he's in the middle, sometimes he's on the left. Dembele likewise, sometimes he's here, sometimes he's there. And Doué as well. Sometimes he's on the right, sometimes he's on the left, sometimes he's up front. They interchange, they swap positions. Everybody gets to utilise, in Dembele's case he gets to play on the right where he's been comfortable or up front where he's comfortable. For these two, Doué gets a chance to play on his preferred side for some time. Kvaratskhelia plays on the one he's not happy with. But Kvaratskhelia gets to play on the side he's happiest with most. And then he plays on the side he's unhappy with. For the team. Real Madrid don't do that. Vini's the only one occupying this side. They never want to change. This never happens. Or this. This never happens. No alteration or specific combination ever happens at Real Madrid. Why? Why does it never happen? Now, we've spoken about the stats, we've spoken about the positions, we've spoken about the Xabi Alonso system, but let's get further into Xabi Alonso's system. Let's touch upon main attacker and let's talk about defensive work rate. Because the main attacker at Real Madrid is Kylian Mbappe. That is not my opinion and that is not something he has self-proclaimed. That is something he has earned on the pitch through his actions, through his statistics. Kylian Mbappe is the main attacker at Real Madrid, and we saw that with the stats. He had 50 plus goals and assists in however many games he had. Vini had over 30, Rodrygo barely had over 20. You do not get over 50 plus goals and assists and not be the main attacker. He is the main attacker. Next, let's talk about Xabi Alonso's system. Xabi Alonso played 2 games at the Club World Cup where he had, it was a 4-back with 3 in midfield and 3 in attack. The first game was against Al Hilal. The second game was against PSG. They were by far Real Madrid's worst games at the Club World Cup. By far. But when Xabi Alonso was playing the 5-back formation with 3 in midfield and 2 up front, Real Madrid looked phenomenal. The best we've looked at that tournament were in the 5-back formations and specifically the Borussia Dortmund game where we were all again playing 5-back. And one thing I noticed about the 5-back formation was the roles of the 2 forward players. And this is where we get into defensive work rate. I don't have Gonzalo Garcia. I've checked he's not available, so we can't really pick him up. So let's just add Usman. I don't know why Usman, but Usman's a workhorse. Courtois even said it after the game. I went up to him and said, brother, you're pressing a lot. Like you be pressing a lot. It's a bit mad. So let's use him as our Gonzalo Garcia. Real Madrid played like this at the Club World Cup against I think it was Dortmund. Gonzalo Garcia and Vini Jr. Now, the profile of these 2 players. Vini Jr. and Kylian Mbappe have a similar profile. Gonzalo Garcia, in terms of his off-the-ball work, his defensive work rate, defensive work rate, is similar to Rodrygo's. Rodrygo, defensively, this isn't new information. This isn't unknown information. This is very, very obvious and clear, and everybody who watches Real Madrid know this. Rodrygo is the hardest working out of the attacking trio. Gonzalo Garcia on the ball is never going to be a Rodrygo. But off the ball, Rodrygo works very, very hard. Gonzalo Garcia and Vincius Jr. complemented each other. They complemented Xabi Alonso's system. They complemented the squad. They complemented what each other needed and what the squad needed. Vinicius Jr. is not better than Mbappe. We've already established Mbappe is the key attacker. He is the main attacker at Real Madrid. He is that guy. He's got 50 plus goals and assists. You're not taking him out of the team for a player who's got 30 plus goals and assists. And unfortunately, even though Vini is my favourite player, Vinicius Jr. is my favourite player at Real Madrid, we got to prioritise the squad. We have to prioritise the squad, and we have to prioritise the team that lets us play the best football and gives us the best chance at winning. And the best chance at winning is one of these profiles. We cannot have both of these guys playing. They don't work together. They're the exact same player. One's just French, one's Brazilian. Besides that, they're the exact same player. They do the exact same thing. One has just had a much better season and got 50 plus goals and assists, where the other one had a little bit more of a lackluster, slower season. So you need one of those profiles in attack. And next to him, you need the profile of a player who can play football, who's quality on the ball, but also willing to put in the defensive shift. And that's where Rodrygo comes in. We've already seen a year ago or 2 years ago when we won the Champions League, playing with Jude in the hole, Rodrygo on as one of the forward players, Vini as the other. Most times it was like this. Rodrygo was on the on the left, and Vini was up front, and Jude was kind of in the hole, and Fede was just kind of occupying here. But we've had this formation and this profile of players where one does not run, one does not work off the ball, and everyone else puts in a shift off the ball. But when these everyone else's get the ball, they look for the one that isn't running, and he is the one that is dangerous when they have the ball and they're in the opposition half. We've seen that. It's worked. It got us a Champions League trophy, and it gave Vini a season that was worthy, didn't lead to, but was worthy of a Ballon d'Or. We've seen it. It works. Having two, we have seen, doesn't work. We tried this. We tried having two players who don't run and then everyone else in the squad putting in a shift. It doesn't work. It's too many players, too many bodies not playing a part, and too often the opposition fullback or wingers find themselves outnumbering our fullback because we've got two players not doing anything. So having one of those profiles works. Having two does not work, which again leads me to Xabi Alonso's system. Having a Vinicius Jr. or Mbappe profile next to a Gonzalo Garcia or Rodrygo profile, a player that runs and works off the ball next to a player who is ridiculously dangerous when you pick up the ball and you can counter and has that burst of pace and that strikes that fear in opposition defensive lines and is clinical and can run at players and can dribble, next to a player who offers equal to him in a lot of aspects, just doesn't have the electrifying pace, but makes up for it with his defensive work rate. That might just be the solution Real Madrid are looking for. These two in attack is a lot more balanced than these two in attack. If I can get rid of Rodrygo, then these two in attack. This is just unbalanced because neither of them are going to work. We saw it all of last season. We saw it against PSG this season. These two in attack works because they will work. And the reason Mbappe goes ahead of Vini is because Mbappe is better than Vini. He was better than him last season. He gets more goals than Vini. He gets more goals and assists than Vini. The guy had 50 plus goals and assists as opposed to Vini's 30. You cannot drop a player like that for any reason. He's earned the right to be a starter. Vini now needs to earn the right to dethrone him or take the position of Rodrygo. Because all Vini needs to do. Now, I favour these two. I want these two to lead the line. I want these two to be the two focal points of our attack. The ones that are working together, that are trying to break through, that are trying to win Real Madrid the match. But the only thing stopping him from getting in front of Mbappe is his stats and his off the ball work. If he gets his stats up and increases off the ball work, Mbappe can get dropped. If Vini can work off the ball, statistically, actually he doesn't even need to match him statistically. Statistically, Vini is good enough, and what he does on the ball is good enough that he doesn't need to do 50 plus goals a season like Mbappe does, as long as he works off the ball. If Vini works off the ball and continues to do what he does on the ball, and then you add Rodrygo, who works good off the ball and on the ball, this is also a balanced attack that led to a Champions League trophy. Basically, the main point I'm making, whether you look at stats, whether you look at position, whether you look at who the main attacker and the best attacker Real Madrid could have is, whether you look at defensive work rates or whether you look at Xabi Alonso's system, Mbappe and Vini occupy one of those roles. If Mbappe is getting 50 plus goals a season, he occupies that role. If Vini's getting his 30 plus goals a season, but he's working his socks off the ball, he occupies that role. But this role should not be in contention. Or the only player contending with him should be Gonzalo Garcia because he had a phenomenal Club World Cup. Rodrygo should be a mainstay and one of the first names on the team sheet because he offers, maybe not exactly equal to these two monsters on the ball, but he offers a lot, an extremely high quality of ability and output on the ball, but he also offers twice as much as both of them off the ball. So Rodrygo needs to be a mainstay, and then these two need to figure out between themselves and Xabi Alonso who starts next to him. Because having these two next to each other doesn't work, and it just causes a lot of imbalances and issues all over the pitch. But this man solves a lot of problems. Anyway, I'm going to call it there. Thanks for watching, and peace.